welcome to the channel. Today we will be talking about the Polikarpov i-16, from which I'm just going to call the i-16 because that is a hard name for me to pronounce. This little Russian fighter was revolutionary when it first came out, being the first low-wing monoplane with an enclosed cockpit and a retractable landing gear, although the enclosed cockpit didn't see very much in-field service due to the glass glazing or plexiglass glazing being hard to keep clean, so pilots preferred an open cockpit. Now imagine it was nice to have some fresh air too. There were about 10,000 total aircraft from this airframe made, and over 6,000 of them were fighters. Another about 3,000 of them were trainers. It would be developed into the i-18, which would not see much of anything. The testing started in 1934, and it was to be powered by a Wright Cyclone engine. Although they were having trouble getting a copy of the Cyclone engine and the Cyclone engine itself, and pilots didn't really like the Cyclone engine very much due to the vibrations it made. So for a while they just settled with a copy of Britain's Jupiter radial engine, although the copy was a bit more reliable than the actual Jupiter engine. The Polikarpov i-16 would see promise with Stalin, even being flown over in multiple air shows. The first production model would be the Type 4, which let's go from the Type 1 to Type 4. The Type 1 was a pre-production series powered by the M22, producing about 450 to 500 horsepower, which was the copy of the Jupiter engine. That's the engine that would power the Type 4, which was the first production model that would have two 7.76 millimeter machine guns mounted in the wings, which even for that time was not very good firepower, but it made the fighter light and maneuverable, which were two really good goals that they wanted. Then you had the Type 5, which was a slightly modified Type 4 with an M25 radial engine, which would be a copy of the Wright Cyclone when they finally got it. There would also be the Type 6, which just had some weight reduction. And then there would be a Type 10, which would be, I believe, the most produced model, which would have 4 machine guns, 2 mounted in the nose, 2 mounted in the wings. The Type 12, which would have 2 machine guns and 2 cannons. Then you have the Type 16, Type 17, Type 18 that all had not too many variations between them. The production would last all the way into the Type 30 when production was reintroduced for World War II from 1941 to 1942. The operators of it was the Chinese Nationalist Air Force. It would see service fighting against the Japanese. The fighters that would fly with the AVG flew I-15s and I-16s. Nazi Germany operated captured ones with the Luftwaffe. Then you also had Finland, Mongolia, Poland, Romania, of course the Soviet Union, the Spanish Republic, and the Spanish state. You would also have it operated by several other smaller air forces. The I-16 would first see service in the Spanish Civil War, flying with the Republican forces. This was a very good liking to the pilots who would first fly these aircraft, although they were not used to having the retractable landing gear, flying only early I-15s produced by Stalin and the Soviets. Although its baptism fire in 1936, when it intercepted a nationalist bombing raid over Madrid. The pilots claimed 4 air victories, 2 German Heinkel HE-51s, but the i-16 would unfortunately suffer terrible losses as well, and especially when they would later come up against the Messerschmitt Bf-109s, the new airplane on the block. Over in the east, you would have the aircraft being flown by the Chinese Nationalist Air Force. These aircraft would typically go up against Nakajima Ki-27s and later Ki-43s and A-5Ms as well. The aircraft could hold its own in dogfights against these aircraft, but once put up against an A-5M and later a Zero, the aircraft stood no chance. Then, of course, the Soviet Union used them heavily in Operation Barbarossa and in the Winter War against Finland. And Finland operated their own captured I-16s, although they wouldn't see a whole lot of service. So overall, the I-16 paved the way for many modern aircraft. There were several armament configurations, such as the 7.62s, the 20 millimeters, the 50 calibers, as well as being able to haul up to 6 RS-82 unguided rockets or 500 kilograms bombs. The aircraft is most commonly compared to the American Brewster F-2A Buffalo, the Messerschmitt Bf-109, and the Nakajima Ki-27, as well as the Seversky P-35. That will be it for this little, nimble, short airplane. Thank you for watching this video. Like, subscribe, and overall, have a wonderful day.